Okay, so here's the site that we're going to design that I worked on 6 years ago. This is the original version of the site. It's changed a little bit since, but we'll recreate probably around about 3 sections of it. Okay, but first let's get into the basics of Sketch. This is our artboard we're going to use. Okay, to get there we go to File, we go to Templates, and we go to Web Design. We're going to use Desktop HD. And you just click on that and delete. Okay, so we're going to do Desktop HD. Okay, so from this downward arrow here, we are going to select a shape. These are the basic tools that we're going to use. So we're going to use that shape. Drag it out, and that's basically how you use that shape. You can change the fills by going there into the color and change the color there like that. Okay, so you can do that with any shape. So we're going to go and choose a circle now. Now hold your shift key to make a perfect circle. Boom. Okay, go into fills and change the color as desired. Okay, so this is the layers panel here. You can drag the top one underneath, which then puts it underneath the layer, which appears underneath the layer that you selected, or you can pull it back up. Okay, now this is the text tool. Now it presets to what I used beforehand, which is huge. We don't want that. So this is the section here to control the size of the text. So you type in a number in there. Let's try probably around about 55. And it shrinks. Okay, now I used it as a white text beforehand, but we'll change that. Now this is where you change the fonts here as well. And you can upload your own fonts, your own custom fonts that you can purchase of different places as well, or download. Now to change the color, you go to Fill, and you just drag it there. And you can drag all elements all over your what's called the artboard, your Desktop HD. Okay, so again, playing with layers, I can drag that underneath that layer, or I can drag it back up again. So that's how you control the layers and how they're displayed on your artboard. Okay, now, okay, to continue on from the basics, say if you want to confine an image in that circle, we use what's called masking. So you just drag an image there which is totally not the same shape. So as to display what you do, you hold your shift key and you select both the top layer, which is the image, and the bottom layer, which is the circle. So you select both and hit that downward arrow and click mask, and it confines it within that space. You can do other things as well as shift it around as a mask itself, or you can start using effects like shadows and different blurs and so forth on the right hand panel. So I'm just going to display how you can increase the shadows around it, and that's it. Let's get into it. Okay, so we're going to take the original YouthWorks site that I completed 6 years ago. This is the original version of the site. So it was originally designed in Photoshop, but this is a sketch lesson. And I'm going to take some creative license in playing with some of the font weight and sizing of the buttons, but we're basically going to recreate this section here, and this section here, pretty close to the original. Okay, so notice notice here, the video cuts off here. That's because the video itself was cropped. But if you take a look at the current side, when a full width image is put in, it takes up the full width. So just for this exercise, we're just going to take a screen grab from the original background video and use it as a full width background, just for the exercise. Okay, so that's what the new version of it looks like now. but I like the original version. So let's do that. Okay. So notice the red here. It's a brand color here that they used, that was developed by their branding agency. So in that, what we do is we get the hex code, which is a code that denotes a certain color. And so they have a specific brand color. So we're going to use that shape tool again, like we used in the introduction video. And we're just going to copy and paste the brand color into that. So that's how we do it. So we've got that sitting there waiting for the rest of the design. Okay, so now we're working on HD desktop, which is a 1440 width. So that's the height there. That's the width 1440. Now the height, we're just going to randomly change that to 6000 just so that we've got enough space to play, more than enough space to play with, basically, to recreate those 3 sections. Okay, so remember, the width of the HD desktop in Sketch, as far as the preset is concerned, is 1440 width. So if you're working by 1440 width, you don't want to go past 900. Now remember how we masked the image into the circle? We're going to mask the video background into this header shape also. So we just create that shape using that shape tool, and we drag the image in. We hold our shift key and we select both. And remember how we go down to mask like this? So we mask it in there, right? So it confines it within those dimensions, 1440 by 900. Okay, so we are going to create an overlay. So we're going to use the same shape again. It doesn't matter what size it is because we've masked it, we can fit it in. So what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of the outline by unticking it and select the fill box to black, and then that's the opacity there to make it lighter or darker. We'll keep it about that dark as far as the overlay is concerned. Now we just drag it into that grouped masked section there, and it should fit in. It fits in mask. Masking means that it confines it within that certain space, that certain section. Okay, so now we are going to, we're not going to do the entire menu. We're just going to do maybe about three sections of the menu and the call to action button. So first we'll drag in the logo and resize it simply by dragging inwards to the corner, and we just drag the image into there. Okay, so we're going to click in the text here, and we're going to create the menu. We're just going to do three sections of the menu, or three tabs of the menu, and that's the settings there. So the settings is, you can see the numbers that it's set by, and we're using Poppins. We're using Poppins Medium as the font. So just put 3 spacing between each ones. You just by clicking the space button 3 times, and we'll just drag that over there. Okay, we'll drag that up there. Okay, so notice this call to action button there, the contact. Okay, so we use the same shape to create it. This time we get rid of we'll drag it out to the shape that we want, and this time we get rid of the fill because we want it to be transparent. So we untick that. So then we change that by going into the fill to white. And then notice how it's slightly curved inwards. So we control that, and also the thickness as well. So we control the thickness by adding it there. Adding it there. So we'll put it about 3 to 4 points. And that's where you can make it curve inwards a bit more by pulling that in. The deeper you pull it in, the more curved that shape becomes. Okay, so then we'll just resize that manually like that. Okay. and drag it there. Okay, so we're just gonna right click, copy and paste, just so that we don't have to write it again, and we'll just cover over it and write in capitals contact, because that's what it is. And we'll probably reduce the size to the rest of the font. So the rest of the font was set to that, reduce to that size there. We'll reduce the contact a little bit. We'll reduce the font size in general as well too. And we drag that in the middle there of the button. Now, to make sure that the button is in the middle, the contact word is in the middle of the button, we hold Shift key and we hold both, and we hit that middle section there to make sure that it's centered in there. It wasn't quite centered as far as positioning, so we done it there, and we group it by right clicking and selecting group, and we title it Contact CTA, which means call to action. Okay, so we are going to write YouthWorks and the tagline. Okay, so that's what we're going to recreate. So we're going to use the text, we're going to select. It's actually Poppins bold, but we're going to use Poppins extra bold, because that's the creative license, because I'll probably use extra bold now. This was done 6 years ago, so we'll change the size to 55 and we will write in YouthWorks. Now you notice that the spacing between the characters is not quite right. The original design, the spacing is tighter, so we'll fix that up later, but let's do that now. So let's get rid of the spacing by selecting there and delete, backspace, and do that there as well, because that's a preset that I had in my previous design that I was using in Sketch. So let's make it more accurate to the original. That's how you do it. You just shift that over there. Yep. Okay, so we're going to write the rest of it. We train and employ young people. So we're just going to right click, copy, since it's the same size, 55. The original was bold. I'm using a bit of creative license here and making it extra bold, just to make the H1 or the heading stand out. So just type in, just by clicking in there into that section and typing in. Okay, so what's that say? Yep. Yep. Click in, type in. Okay, now we're going to drag that up there, and we're going to use that center button again to make sure that it's centered, and make sure that that's centered. Oh, it wasn't. So good thing we tested it out there. Okay, copy, paste. Now we're going to write the third line by double clicking and just simply typing in there. Young people. Okay, the young goes above there, so let's go there. This was 6 years ago. I finished this project 6 years ago, and as you can see, the website has changed a little bit too. But I like the dynamic kind of video background that they used and the dynamic style they used, or they directed me to design. Yeah, that they ended up going with, sorry, not up. Okay, so we're going to, because we've got that, what's considered the hex code or the brand color, that particular color, we're going to use that on the side. That's why we did it originally. And we're just going to reshape that towards the word. And remember how you can change the layers, the positioning of the layers? So we're just going to change the position of the layers like that. Okay, so we're just going to drag that down there. and so then the text comes up the front. That's why I showed you the stuff at the beginning. Notice that's black. Now let's select that, look at the fill color, black. Okay, now let's drag that down a little bit and center it a little bit using the snap and guide tool. We'll just drag that up there. And so brand color is a color that was specifically designed and created for a brand. So this is unique to YouthWorks, this color. That's why we're using it specifically for this section here where it uses the typewriter effect. Click the middle again, select both the text and the typewriter section, and we'll call that typewriter so we know what it is. So we're labeling it, we just click in there and type it. Okay. So copy and paste and put it under there. So we just copied the typewriter and pasted it. Okay. Drag that up there a bit. Drag that up. Pull that in from the corner, using the middle circle. And click select shift and select both and use that middle button to make sure that they're centered together in the middle of each other so that the black part is over the red and centered as well. So just change the color of that to black as well. Okay, so we're going to do the button. Now, it comes handy when you've got a consistent button, but you just fiddle around with the sizing and the fonts a bit. So we're just going to select that, right click, and copy. We'll probably take that down a little bit as far as the width is concerned. Yep. Right click, copy, paste. So this is just done on the fly, just so that you have an idea of how Sketch works, basically, and using a real site as an example to be able to design from, to see if web design is for you. So Sketch is one of the most, so you just double click in there and type in. So Sketch is one of the most used UI or design for the web tools around. So you just change the size of that as well too. I use capitals as well, and yep, change the sizing, drag that out a bit more. Yep, so so you double click on the actual button itself on the outline section to be able to drag that in. Then you drag in the text. So that's grouped, but you can double click on certain sections to be able to select the single position. Now we use that centering again just to make sure that it's centered. Okay, so that's to find out how. Drag that up a bit. It's not going to be exact because we are recreating something that I did 6 years ago in a different program as well. So yeah, but we'll try and make it as close as possible to it. So we're going to change the font to that weight there. So Poppins is a regular font that you can download for free and install the different weights. Weights meaning regular, semi-bold, bold, so forth like that. Okay, so we're going to do the next section here. This section here, the about section. Okay, so we are going to go and select that shape again. We're going to leave the outline just so that it's a marker so we know because it's white where it is, but we're going to change the fill to white. Okay, we're just going to copy that because it's the same font, but we're going to change it to bold. You can just change the weight to bold and change the fill to black and change the size as well. We're going to change the size as well to that. So we're just going to double click in there, go click about, type in about, sorry. And you see it's a bit too thick and a bit too big at the moment. So let's resize that like that. You can see the numbers there on the side and bring that to bold. I used a bit of creative license to make this version of the heading on the header extra bold, but yeah, it's the original is actually all bold for the headings, but that's okay. Okay, so we click that and we'll resize that a bit, shift that to the middle. That snapping guide tells us to the middle, but it's not quite in the middle, so we're going to use that middle button at the top right hand corner again and just make sure everything's in the middle and centered. Okay, so we're just going to drag that across. I mean, we don't have the entire menu because this is just a snapshot to get you, I guess, get you thinking of where the web design is right for you. Okay, so we're just going to copy that bit of content text. It can be any text really because the text has changed since the original design, but we're just going to drag that out. It's going to default into the heading. We're just going to right click and right click paste. Then we're going to click on it. Then we are going to change it to 18 size. And we're going to change it to regular. So then that looks more like it. Yeah, we're just going to play around by pulling the middle circle in and pull the middle circle in and just drag that in the middle there. Okay, so that's that section there about, and that's the spacing there. So probably pull it up a bit further up, about there. Okay, and we'll probably just pull that up a bit as well. That section is probably not quite as big. We'll drag the Social Traders logo in there, which was in the original there, as you can see there. And now we're going to center it using that top right hand center tool again, just to make sure everything's aligned in the middle and centered properly. Okay, now we're going to do the grid. So we're going to do that, and we're going to hold our shift key now so it does a perfect square. So this is how I design it now in Sketch. So that's what we're going to design. We're going to design these grids. So we're going to use that masking again. So we're just going to drag that image in. And we are going to hold shift. We're just gonna drag that image in. We're gonna hold shift and the rectangle underneath and click mask. So it masks it within that, confines it within that space, because we're going to use an overlay on that section as well. Okay, so now we are going to which should we do? I think we'll put the overlay over it. So we will grab that. Sorry, I'm doing this on the fly. Grab that. And it doesn't matter if it goes over because it's masked. So it's going over now. We'll get rid of the outline by unticking it. We'll change it to black. The opacity will reduce by pulling that down, and we will drag it within, on top of the image, within the masked grouping. So then that masks it straight in there. That's why we need to use the mask. Okay, and we'll just label it. Okay. Now we are going to do the content on top of it. So we'll just copy and paste. So we're just going to copy that. Since it's white, going to put training. So we just paste. We're obviously going to change it to bold, not extra bold. So bold, and we'll probably change the sizing of it. We'll type in training first, and we will change the sizing of it, probably to that size there. So we'll just change the sizing. Done. Boom. Voila. Okay. Now we're just gonna grab from the original site. We can probably just, it doesn't really matter, but we can probably grab, okay, so we need that text. We'll just grab it off the new version of the site. We'll just grab any random text that's in that section now. So it still remains true to the original design, but it's been changed a little bit since. But I like what was done 6 years ago, so I'm just gonna do as close to it as possible. So it's gonna default back to that again. So you click in there, paste what we just right click, copied and paste from the website. We're going to change that to regular, and we're going to change it to 18 size. And then from the middle circle, we'll play around with the width and so forth. Yeah. And we're just going to just checking everything, checking the opacity. We'll probably make it a little bit darker so the text stands out more. Okay, so it has a spacing. We just gotta pull it in a little bit more maybe and drag it out. We just play around with it. It's not going to be exact. This is an exercise basically using a real site that I've worked on and learning how to use the basics of Sketch. So let's just drag that there. Like we'll hit Shift and select both, and we'll use the middle button to make sure that it's aligned in the middle. Okay, so we'll use this button, copy, paste. So create a bit of creative license. It's not going to be the exact size as the original site. I'm just showing you how you can reuse elements if they're consistent on your site over and over again. Just double click into there and go learn more, and double click and click into the button section and just drag that in, make it a bit smaller, Okay, there you go. And probably, yeah, the font size needs, so we'll click into the text, font size needs to be reduced. But using a bit of creative freedom here, creative license, by making the button bigger. If I were to design it today, I'd probably make the button a little bit bigger. Trends have changed, like big things, big call to actions and things like that. Even though the original call to action is already pretty big anyway. So we're just going to select that. We're going to select and make sure that's in centered using the top right tool again. Okay, cool. So that's that. Okay. That's how you control the mask, but it's a grid, so you don't want to do that. I'm just playing around. Okay. Now, what should we do? We should, give it a bit of spacing there. Drag that up. Okay. So we'll probably move on to the, we may play with the opacity a bit. Maybe it's not quite as dark, but if I were to design it today, I would make it darker so the text stands out a little bit more. I mean, you live and you learn, basically. Okay, so that's that section done. Okay, so we're going to do that. We're going to repeat that for the right section. So we're just going to hold our shift key and drag out that perfect square. We're going to drag the image in and we're going to just place it over there, and we're going to use the masking again. So we're going to hold our shift key, select both layers, and then mask. So it confines it in that section again. Okay, and we're basically going to repeat that, really. Okay, so boom, boom. So that mask, overlay dark overlay can be any size, so long as it's the right opacity. So then we're going to drag that on the left layers panel. We should label it as overlay too, but this is not really intense course on grouping and layer and labeling and everything. We're just trying to learn the basics of Sketch to see if this is just one tool, but this is a major tool in UI or web design. Let's just see if this works for you. So copy, paste. See if this is the sort of thing you want to do. You may love it. So I guess that's why we're doing a little short tutorial on Sketch, one of the major tools used today, just to see if it's right for you. Okay, so we're just going to drag that up a bit. Drag that up. Okay. So we're just going to hold our shift key and select all three layers and do that centering thing to make sure that it's all centered. Okay. So we're just going to hold our shift key and copy that, because the content doesn't really matter. This is a design, so we can reuse the same content just to fast track this tutorial, so it doesn't take too much of your time, but it hopefully gives you enough information on how to use Sketch and how it's used for a real site. Yep. Okay. So that's the first version. That's the first three sections. Okay, drag that out. Playing around, just fooling around. Okay, yeah. That. Just checking all the layers. So this is how you go and inspect the different layers and so forth, and and reshift things is you select the image in that masked folder layer and you can play around and fool around like that. Okay, so let us, okay, using that middle circle, okay, so let's take a look. Just double checking it. So, oops, wrong thing. Oops, sorry. No, you just want to export it as a PNG. Okay, so click on the desktop header. You'd probably rename that YouthWorks homepage or something like that, and just go the export button there, and we're gonna save that as YouthWorks 1 because we're gonna preview it. I'm gonna show you there's actually like a couple of little small things which needs to be fixed up, which is what I want to show you also. It looks good to the naked eye, but let's take a closer look. Okay, so let's take a look. Now, it looks pretty close, almost, but there's one spacing issue I intentionally did so that I could do this, but let's see if you can pick it up. What's the spacing issue here? Okay, so let's drag that out. Well, there's plenty of spacing issues because this is done on the fly, right? But, okay, let's see. See? The social traders is not quite the same. It's a bit too low, so we should drag that up. So what we'll do is we'll select that, drag that up, and then we will drag the section up. Click on the background section and pull it up. And we can get rid of the outline, so because we've got a relatively good idea of where everything is. And what we're going to do, oops, is just simply drag across and select all of the grid section and drag that upwards. So that's what I wanted to show you, to fast track things if you want to change things up or if you made a mistake here and there. Now let's export it, and it looks pretty good. Yeah. So let's take a look, and hopefully you got something out of that, and hopefully it helps you decide whether web design is the right career for you or not, or UI design. Yeah, so let's take a look. Let's export it. Let's take a look. Take a look again. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Okay, we didn't do that section, but let's take a look now. And that looks pretty close. Using the original image as the original logo and hex code and so forth. You don't have to read the hex code, but that's okay. This is just basically like, do you think web design is for you? I hope it is, because I love it. But yeah, ta-da! And finito. Awesome. Thank you very much for watching.